I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We can even drum up opportunities for the Marching Band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
You're listening to Let Him Cook. Dylan Coon joined by Nigel Dyson. We're recording right after the UCF game. We got 3 games to go over. I think that's a record this season. And a little bit of injury news, which feels about a week late because it is, but I think it's worth starting the show because Iowa State is down a starter in Milan Momchilovich. We've seen us go 2-1 without him, but I think especially against West Virginia, he was missed from a 3-point standpoint and just from a spacing the floor aspect. I just got a question. I've been talking about this with some coworkers and just buddies of mine because I think there's a couple different ways you can go with this. But besides Milan, obviously, which player do you think their game is most impacted by the absence of Momcilovic? Like in order of what they want to do without Milan, who's going to feel that the most?
Like feel the void, you're saying?
Like either... Because that's, I think, one argument to be made is you could look at like a Heise or Demarion Watson and just like they're going to play more minutes, so maybe they're the ones most impacted. But I have another answer that, again, we were talking about this beforehand. Some of this got wiped out from the UCF game because we looked so good against UCF. But is there a player that you think has to play differently now without Momcilovic on the court?
Yeah, I mean, okay, there's 2 answers to this. If it's not, obviously the bench guys at Heise and Watson, I feel like it is to a degree Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just coming off of tonight. I mean, 30 burger, unreal.
Yeah.
30 piece. Oh my God. Unreal. I didn't know he had that in him, but we'll take it. Last person to have a 30-point game under TJ was Caleb Grill against North Carolina. Something about that number 2 jersey, man. Something about that number 2 jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal. But no, I think that to answer your question, I think the real answer would be Jefferson. It feels like there's a bit more space from him to attack at all 3 levels, and I think we really saw that today. But if you have a different answer, please enlighten me.
So this is mostly about the West Virginia game, and in retrospect, I think Keyshawn just wasn't being aggressive enough against West Virginia. But it felt like the spacing was just off against West Virginia. And I like Keyshawn as a guy who just lives driving to the basket and going to the rim. And let's be honest, West Virginia, a much better defensive team than UCF is. But I felt just like Keyshawn didn't have as much space to operate and get to the rim because guys could slack off the 3-point line because you don't have a 45% 3-point shooter anymore standing on the perimeter. So my answer yesterday probably would have been Keyshawn. Demarion Watson has had some great minutes in Momcilovic's absence, playing some great defense, getting great boards. I mean, he has looked... That's the thing about this team. Like, that's a guy that has barely seen the court. His number gets called, and you can tell that guy's still working hard as hell in practice because he looks like he belongs on that court just as much as everybody else does.
Yeah, I mean, and the things he does, like, playing or not, those aren't really things that go away due to a lack of rhythm. Like if Watson was this really good knockdown shooter like a Curtis Jones, I feel like he would need those in-game reps to feel really comfortable and be playing at the level that Curtis has been playing at lately. But just because most of the things he does, his intangibles are based off desire and hustle alone, like it is kind of just whenever you need me, coach, I'm going to be ready, you know? Right. And I think I hate the fact that, you know, it takes something tragic to happen to the team in order for him to get that opportunity. Because I think that in a world where Milan is starting and playing games, like there's been days where Milan will, in a good win, will have 5 points. And like, that's what I'm saying from a numbers perspective. Like even, here's my thing. I feel like losing Milan short term is not going to be as bad as people want to paint it out. Originally, no one knew the timetable, so everyone was kind of overreacting, including myself. But I just feel like without him there, or with or without him there was room for Watson to play, and it just felt like in those days where Milan probably wasn't playing the best, or to his, because it's like you have the Colorado game, for example, and then you have those 5.2-point games. Yeah. Let's throw Watson in there just to give us a different type of spark. It doesn't have to be necessarily someone who can stretch the floor. Now, I mean, Watson hit a 3 today, but that's not his bread and butter. He's a 3-point ball away from being a really good first option off the bench. But I say all that to say this. I just feel like he's always had the potential to play. It's just a matter of whenever TJ was ready to actually pull the trigger.
The last thing I want to talk to you about Momcilovic, 4 to 6 weeks, and that was a week ago. So I guess now it's more like 3 to 5. Would you rather have him come back maybe like at the Big 12 tournament, and I think that would be close to 6 weeks after his injury, or do you want him back in there as soon as you can? The only thing I'm a little scared of is we look good now, and I'm guessing 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, we will really have these rotations down. And I still think offensively, Momcilovic brings something that no one else on our team really can, and just that catch and shoot 3-point sniper. But I'm worried about, if we bring him back when we are on the verge of the postseason, whether it's the Big 12 tournament or March Madness, how does that shake up guys' minutes? Do guys play differently, or are you not too worried about that? You're just like, play your best players and they'll figure it out.
I mean, here's the thing. If people catch real fire, I mean, if Curtis, again, it was a bad game for Curtis, in my opinion, today was 13 points. So It's like, is that really a bad game? But I just feel like if you're playing well, first game, you probably bring him off the bench. But I think, with given time, I think it's a no-brainer just for spacing purposes alone, and to go just a bit bigger. Got to get him back in the starting lineup as soon as possible. I thought even too I didn't assume he would need surgery. But he was away from the team today. I believe he just had surgery today. But I just feel like it initially it could have been an injury that he could have Kobe Bryant. It brought out his inner Kobe Bryant and played with a broken finger. But I just think in a matter of time, it's probably best to bring him back as soon as possible, because we don't want to get to the playoffs and reshake up a lineup that we've been so accustomed to playing with for so long. At least too dramatically. A good example of this is in 2010. 2010-11 season. Kyrie Irving was obviously at Duke, had a tremendous start to the year, got hurt, and then comes back for the tournament. And after winning the ACC title, Duke pretty much walked through the ACC that year. But after winning the tournament that the weekend before, they go into next week for tournament time, and they lose in an upset game to Arizona and Derek Williams. So it can really, whether the person's good or not, it's not necessarily that person's fault, but just for chemistry purposes, it could throw something off. I don't know. I feel like we played a decent amount of time with Milan in the lineup to where it's not going to make too big of a deal. But I think it's just like we have to tread lightly when he gets back. It doesn't need to be this aggressive push and then expect him to, be really productive, because coming off a broken finger, I don't know how he's going to look, But again, we're talking about a player who fluctuates from 20-point plus games to 5-2 games. I mean, it's not to say he's inconsistent, but it's just, I don't think it's something that you're necessarily going to really miss long-term, because this is not a long-term injury. So I think if the table is accurate of 4 to 6 weeks, I say probably sit the whole 6 weeks just to be safe. And knowing how conservative TJ can be sometimes with his decision-making, I feel like that's probably going to be the mentality. But I don't want to really wait until too late in the season to where we potentially have a Kyrie Irving situation on our hands, per se, especially in a year where we can really take it all title-wise. So
yeah, like you said, I think it's more than his production a game, because he's about a 10 points a game player. Shooting 45% from three is that is lethal. Mm-hmm. But I think, like you said, spacing, and then I think, honestly, for opposing coaches, like, we hear so much about our three guards, Keyshawn, Curtis, and Taman, Joshua Jefferson dropped 30 tonight. But then when you also have to game plan for a 6'8" wing who can shoot 45% from three, I mean, we were saying early in the season, it's like, pick your poison. And when you just take one guy out of the equation, well, now you can focus more on, maybe you focus on 4 guys instead of 5 guys, or maybe it's 3 and not 4, that kind of thing. So I think just like, obviously, the more weapons, the better. Mm-hmm. But I do think we have the firepower to replace that 10 points a game. But it's just what we can do offensively kind of changes just because we don't have that knockdown shooter waiting in the wings. But let's talk about...
The thing is, what we do. Heise.
Yeah.
Gotta lock in.
Got one tonight.
I get it. Yeah, you got one tonight. That's great. Let's see a few more. Like, I get it. It's a confidence thing at this point. And I know in media, people have been questioning him about it. And I don't want to assume his feelings about a shooting slump because I understand a shooting slump can't be the greatest feeling in the world. Especially when you're playing for a high-level program that is Iowa State right now. So I get like how it is probably a mental fog more than anything physical. And I just saw like in media through his body language alone and answering those questions, I can tell it's really affecting him. And I know he's probably not trying to think too much about it, but it's hard not to, especially when that's outside of hustling and making the occasional off-the-dribble play. That's really all he's out there to do. So I know that dawns on him. I'm hoping he can get out of this slump long term and become a bit more of a reliable shooting option. Because here's the thing: if he can be able to get back into his original groove that maybe he was at one point at Northern Iowa, because we haven't really seen like oh my God, this guy's got a clip on him at Iowa State. But I know at UNI he was quite the shooter. So if he can get to that version of himself again, then Milan won't have to feel so pressured to get back to that 45% shooting rate, especially with a broken finger. Or healing broken finger, I should say. So I don't know. I just feel like we have a shooter. It's just a matter of we got to see the ball go through the net. And again, that's all about confidence. You just got to get him up because you're going to have the opportunity to now. So he passed up a bunch of shots today. People were sagging off him. This is UCF, not Auburn, dude. Like, you got to let it fly in these games because these games, like, theoretically, no one's going to care if you're putting up 9 threes a game. Like, I would hope you hit 3 to 4 of those bad boys, and we're back in action. Like, I feel very confident where we are as a team if we can get Heise to kind of carry that Milan load in the long term, at least when it comes to shooting. I know size is not the same, but Heise's still a big guard. So I feel like if he gets a shot back, I feel like we're back in business.
And one thing, I didn't know this until I listened to the West Virginia game on radio. I was driving to see family. Heise, until tonight, had not hit a 3 in Big 12 play. Yeah. Which is, I mean, we are 7 games in now. Am I getting that right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to only have 1 3-point shot in 7 Big 12 games, yeah, that production has to go up. He did get the monkey off his back tonight. He saw one go in, and you could kind of see the sigh of relief as he was running back down the court after he made that first one. Keyshawn dapped him up. The whole team knew that, he's in a slump. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they're not talking to him about it, but you pick up on that as a player, as a teammate, that, I haven't seen him get one in for a while. So let's see if that is enough to kind of loosen him up. I think it's a confidence thing. You hear that all the time with shooters. It's like, once you get your confidence back, once you get that, whatever, like Curtis Jones has that right now. Like, he's got that in spades. It's just a matter of believing in yourself and taking those shots, and then everything comes with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the passing up opportunities that I hope the coaching staff is definitely pointing out, because it's just, you're missing out on an opportunity to get out of the slump. Like, we get it. You're in a slump, but like at this point, nobody cares. Yeah. We got one of the best rebounding teams in the country. Like, there's a pretty good chance we'll get the board and toss one up. So I'm all for Heise getting him up just to get back into that rhythm, because we're definitely going to need him, especially going to Arizona for the next 2 games.
Nigel, I have a confession to make to you and the Let Him Cook listeners. So last episode, I really thought I wasn't going to be able to go to Kansas. At the time, I was telling the truth. Kind of got to go, kind of didn't. So I was able to do the live shots for Scott and Shannon, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. Game started at 6, so I'm watching it on my phone outside of the Coliseum, because you can't go live inside of the Coliseum because ESPN has the rights, a lot of mumbo jumbo. lot of that to say, I'm sitting outside. It's very cold out. Scott Reister and me hanging out till like 6:30 live. As soon as that's done, we run back in. I caught about the last 10 minutes of the first half of the Kansas game, which was when Curtis Jones was just unconscious. He was in a headspace, in a world where that basket was as big as a tractor tire. Like, that dude was pulling up left, right, and center. It was crazy. But so I got to watch the last 10 minutes of the game, and then I had to go back to Des Moines and shoot some more video for news. And so all of that to say, I got to see the environment a little bit. And honestly, I saw it when it was really bumping. I mean, that was a close game the first half until Curtis kind of went on that run. I don't know how much more there is to say about Curtis Jones. I think he needs to be in All-American conversations, especially. I don't think him being a sixth man was taking him out of any conversations. He was still a leading scorer. But now that he's a starter, he is getting, almost 20 points every single game. He got 13 tonight. But when we need him, he comes through, and that floater he has is just like on lock right now. Like, what did you see out of Curtis Jones in that Kansas game? Because he was on one.
I saw he was getting to his spots, and I learned his spots courtesy of Ryan Hammer. Just started subscribing to his content, so I'm gonna tap into him more often. But did kind of a 90-minute. I mean, you know how Billis game walk does the 90-foot walk. It was like that on steroids. He went with Curtis right before the Kansas game, all throughout the facilities, all three different facilities. So two different facilities, three different lounges. So there was the Sioux Cup, took him all through there. He took him through both locker rooms, I believe. And they also pulled out Curtis's shot chart, and he highlighted essentially. It was essentially like, if you guys have ever played NBA 2K, it's like the hot zones on the court. It was essentially saying how everything going to his left, ironically, Curtis is like nails in. And obviously he's good on the right side too, but it's just where he gets hot and where I can close my eyes and see almost all his big plays coming from going to his left side. And a lot of it is too because of how he cocks his feet. His feet are not straight like a Klay Thompson shooter. They're kind of cockeyed like a Steph almost. So it's funny how anytime he's going to the left, which again were most of those big plays against Kansas, the floaters, the three balls, even the mid-range shots, like they were all from those exact spots. And it was insane foreshadowing to see that was before the Kansas game. And then you fast forward to the Kansas game, and he, like you said, was unconscious from all of those spots. So I think that was the difference maker. I think also too, overall with Kansas, it was the 50-50 balls. Even Bill Self said it too. We really got out to every loose ball opportunity, but with overall just his ability to get to his spots, it doesn't matter who's in front of him, and the quick trigger he has now. Like, he's not even following through. He's literally just heaving the ball at the rim, and it's butter. Like he's making the game very simple for himself because he knows the spots on the floor that he is. I guess the most consistent in, which is kind of the going to his left and obviously those corners and let the rest we'll let the rest be what it is, but those are the main answer was kid was getting to his spots. He was taking shots, getting to his spots, and the Kansas, they were not rocking chalk. Okay. They blew on Wednesday. It was bad.
Hunter Dickinson, this might be my favorite segment of the episode. Sucked. 3 for 10. 6 points, had 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and he gets all this talk. Oh, he's such a smart passer. Shut up. 4 turnovers, 4 personal fouls. He sucked.
Let's go through all the senior citizen stat lines. I want to hear. Can you ramble off Mr. KJ Adams?
1 for 5, 4 points, 3 fouls, 1 turnover, couple of steals, 6 rebounds, and a block. And then do you want Dwan Harris?
No. Bring me the NIL merchant from Kankakee, Illinois, AJ Stour. I don't care how you say his name. Bring up his stat line.
2 for 6, 5 points, 2 assists, 2 boards, 4 personal fouls. Am I getting that right? Dog, this whole team was 1 foul away from fouling out. Hunter Dickinson finished with 4. Floyd Badunga, I was pleasantly surprised. He should be getting more playing time over KJ Adams. And then AJ Storr had 4 fouls. Bad. Dog cheeks. The whole team sucked. The only one that was worth anything, former South Dakota State Jackrabbit, Zeke Mayo, 7 for 19, finished with 17 points, but only didn't have a single assist and just 1 rebound. So he was just out there shooting. Yeah. But, I mean, he was the only one
stinking it up. You might as well get him up. Like, who cares?
He was the only one that finished in double figures.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad. And this is the crazy thing I want to talk about, too, with Kansas and Iowa State. It is the 2, like, dramatic spectrums of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Stop watching Wake Forest and North Carolina right now.
No. Breaking news. Minnesota just beat Iowa by 5. Minnesota is a terrible basketball team. Go ahead.
So is Iowa. Let's proceed.
That's what
I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, no. Essentially, they're 2 different spectrums of the transfer portal. Whereas Iowa State is able to transform these people who are not having a lot of hype nor clout to their name coming into the program, averaging 2 points a game. Obviously, that stat alone, I don't want to keep throwing that out there because that was their, I believe, sophomore year stats where they're still getting acclimated to college basketball. And I don't want to keep the narrative going that, right before they got to Iowa State, they were averaging 2 points. Like, they obviously had good next years in their junior seasons to get here. But it's more of I think Keyshawn was a sophomore.
Yeah, it was freshman and sophomore. Yeah, and then Curtis is weird because he was at Indian Hills, and it was his first year at Buffalo. He was getting 2 points.
Yeah. So regardless, getting acclimated to college basketball is not the smoothest transition for everyone. Not everyone can be a Cooper Flag or whatever those kids.
Shameless plug. Ace Bailey, maybe Dylan Harper. I don't know. A couple of guys over there.
Yeah, a couple of dudes. But I just like Kansas came into this year being very like on paper, it was like, what are you gonna do with these guys? Yeah. But I think we kind of just got lost in the sauce overall. Like, I think there's a little bit too much NIL focus over there where despite it being in the Midwest, I think they're a little Hollywood right now. And they're not really worried about like the meat and potatoes of why they're there, which is basketball. So I really think like there's more internal problems that we may not even know about, but it just goes to show how like you can really take someone who is maybe not have the biggest name in the transfer portal, some actually develop the player while they're there, like your job is as a college coach, and not necessarily just try to bank off talent. And I think that's kind of the 2 spectrums that we're dealing with both these programs is while they both are historic basketball programs, one of them is obviously just usually getting more star power based off the name alone. So I think in an even climate where everyone is getting paid, everyone is competing now at a reasonable level. I know these blue bloods have extra pocket money, but I think that can sometimes distract their guys. Like, I don't think they do come into Ames as hungry as one would. So I think I think last Wednesday was a prime example of just like you can't buy a national champion team. You got to develop one. And I think that's kind of the difference maker this year. And it has been since Kansas won the national championship. They've been very coasty, each year, and it's proven because since that Abachi, Christian Braun year, I believe we've beaten them every single season, at least at Hilton. So they can't seem to figure it out. And I love to live in a world where Kansas cannot figure it out how to beat us at Hilton. It's what a time to be alive. But I think that's really the main thing I took away from it is you can't buy a national championship team. And this Kansas team is definitely showing that.
Yeah, I think another team that is very similar to Iowa State, Texas Tech, has done an incredible job in the transfer portal. I didn't see if they won tonight, but just like when Iowa State played Texas Tech, you're like, man, they got Elijah Hawkins from a bad Minnesota team, JT Toppin from New Mexico. Like he was a sought after recruit, but it's like, is he going to work in the Big 12? Like the Mountain West and the Big 12, not quite the same. But yeah, like Iowa State is like plug and play. You find a guy like Brant Chatfield, you throw him out there. He does exactly what you need him to do. Kansas, it's pay and pray. You just pay a bunch of dudes, and get as much talent as you can and then just hope it figures itself out. Bill Self's a great coach, don't get me wrong, but like you said, it's just like when you have 5 volume shooters, that's really hard to put them all on one team. And these are guys that were getting 15 shots a game. Now Rylan Griffin only had 4 shots last night. AJ Storr had 6 shots. Hunter Dickinson got his 10 shots, but it was 3 for 10. So these guys that are used to being the leading scorer on their teams, you put them all on one team, and it doesn't really mesh. The other thing I want to say about this Kansas-Iowa State game is just Iowa State finding different ways to win. I don't know how many free throws they made in the second half, but Kansas was 4 for 11 from the free throw line, including DeJuan Harris going 1 for 6. DeJuan Harris is an incredible, I think it was 85% going into the game. Iowa State was 18 for 25 from the charity stripe. And also, before you say, home cooking refs, Kansas on Ken Pom, at least when we played them, attempts the least amount of free throws. They are 364th. That is last in the country for attempted free throws. And but you just think of the way they play. You got your center 27 feet away from the basket. No one is really a drive to the basket kind of a guy on that team. AJ Storr kind of likes the mid-range. Zeke Mayo's going to shoot threes. KJ Adams isn't drawing fouls. He's just in the dunker spot. So it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, when you get 11 chances and only hit 4 of them, you're going to lose by 17 on the road against Iowa State.
Yeah. And just want to say this, guys. I know too many people, they try to make the lazy comparison that, Hunter Dickinson is this baby Jokic at the college basketball level.
Terrible.
Dog, on a talent perspective, that boy is Bill Laimbeer. Okay?
That's high praise. Bill Laimbeer has more toughness in his pinky than Hunter Dickinson does in his entire body.
I'm not talking about it. I said talent alone. That boy is Bill Laimbeer. He's walking around with a chain on his neck. He's got a podcast. He's doing halftime talks with Billis and the boys. I mean, what do we do? That guy ain't worried about basketball. He's not reading the scouting report. Boy, you better learn you some Joshua Jefferson. What's wrong with you? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
But hey, people got to learn the hard way, man. Hate to see it. You hate to see it. Also, in my humble opinion, we've kind of talked about this before. But our boy Flory Badunga, the freshman, definitely outplayed Mr. NIL in my opinion. So I'll take a 3 for 3 night in 11 minutes over 3 for 10 in what was it, 29 minutes? Oh my god, what a stinker! Didn't even hit 30. You didn't even cap out to 30, dog. Yes. Wrap it up. Also, another thing about Hunter Dickinson specifically that pissed me off was I knew he was old. Guys. But I did not know he was 6 months older than me. People, I have been out of college for 2 years now. That infuriates me. I go to work. I would get up every day at 5:30 and I go to work and I work an honest 8 to 5 shift and I put a smile on my face. And when I see pencil necks like Mr. Dickinson still throwing up hook shots and sucking, mind you, the audacity to suck, to be this old and to suck is crazy. We have to stop in college basketball alone. And this goes for even Janae Broom. We have to stop praising all of these old guys because at the beginning of the season in the Maui tournament, they're dominating freshmen. They're supposed to do that. The spectrum of college basketball now are people that are a few months older than me, 2 years removed from college, and then Cooper Flag, people who are supposed to be in their senior year of high school. This is a very weird sport. So I just hate how the media really takes some narratives of returnees and really just milks these narratives they're indestructible. They're the best thing we've seen since sliced bread. I can't. I know I complain about Kansas's age way too much, but when I find out, because here's the thing, most of this core is class of 2020, which is all right, they're COVID kids. I'll cut you some slack. But Hunter Dickinson is my age, reclassed. And because you reclassed, because you weren't good enough to play in the class of 2019, you now got the benefit of the COVID kids. Dude, if you don't get a suit on and go to a job interview, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he needs to get on Indeed.com ASAP.
Or just join Barstool Sports. Make an honest living. You don't even need to do all that. I want you to know it's over. You're just big and taking up space at this point.
I want to end the Kansas game the way Iowa State ended the Kansas game with a Brant Chatfield dunk. And for those that have been not even really following Iowa State for a long time, but like I think the Matt Thomas dunk was probably 10, maybe 11 years ago. There's just something about a white dude with a dunk on Kansas and like garbage time. The game was over. Brant Chatfield and Matt Thomas did not need to do it to him. But and it's like the student section is right behind them. I always go back and forth because the pictures of like a dude dunking and then all the students behind him going crazy. Like I love that photo, but I also love like at Cameron where the students are lined up on the sideline essentially and not the line. I kind of wish Iowa State did that sometimes. I just feel like it's louder. I don't know if there's any real studies to that, but all that being said,
but
yeah, that's true.
But what were you saying?
Brant Chatfield ending on a dunk, and then you had a Curtis Jones 3 from the 712 area code. Take me out. I mean, if this was a close-ish game, and then Iowa State basically just put their foot on Kansas's necks and said, "No, actually, screw you guys. We're going to kill you now."
Yeah.
Oh.
It got to the point where I would argue that the Curtis shot was a bit more like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah. I mean, that was Deshaun Jackson, like his reaction on the bench. I don't know if you saw like the camera cut straight to him.
I have a screenshot. He was like, "Oh my God, what did this dude have for breakfast?" No, I've never seen such a more nails 3-pointer, at least in Hilton, in my time being a fan. Like I haven't seen one in my time be that big. And then against the opponent, dude, I was like, it doesn't get better than this, guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than this. And it always warms my heart when a legendary coach like Bill Self too can compliment our guys and really give them their flowers. Because it's not more. It's like at this point, even guys like Bill know like this is not a fluke anymore. This is what they're becoming on a consistent basis. We cannot just walk into Ames anymore and half lace our shoes up and expect to come out with a win. Like it's just not the case anymore. We have dudes. We got dudes, bro. And we had dudes last year, but the dudes have become more dudeier this year, and I love it, man. I don't know if dudeier is not the right adjective I should have used. That sounds a little weird. I don't quote me on that. But no, it's just different, man. Like we say it every week, but it really is getting to a point where it's just it doesn't get better than this. It's that simple.
Yep. Also, I think I forget who quote tweeted me, so I apologize. But in that game, someone said Taman Lipsey always makes the play when the team needs him, and that is like word for word exactly what you and I said.
Yeah.
In the podcast going into that Kansas game.
The Mike Conley of Russell Westbrooks. Come on now.
Nigel, let's unpack the first loss of the Big 12 season. At West Virginia, we were saying a little bit before the show started, man, it's a little different on the road. When you're ranked number 2, it felt like West Virginia was pulling out all the stops. They had throwback uniforms. They're honoring the logo, Jerry West, the best basketball player in the history of West Virginia. I mean, like, they were doing it all. Like, any kind of promotional sellout crowd, top 2 team in the country coming to town. Like I said, it's that Saturday right before break,
right before the semester starts. Everybody's home, everyone's back. Oh,
and it was a tough environment.
Setup. Like, if we thought for a sec, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but if we thought Texas Tech was a setup game, West Virginia said get ready to learn country road because we definitely ate some concrete, that's for sure.
God, and West Virginia's down 9 with 5.5 minutes left to Arizona State. This conference.
This conference, college basketball, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does not. West Virginia's at home. I'm guessing it's not a sold-out crowd on a Tuesday night for Arizona State. But,
no,
man, this has been a house of horrors for Iowa State for such a long time. And, it's been, now it'll be at least 11 years, depending on if we play in Morgantown next year. But Dustin Hogue was on the team the last time Iowa State won in Morgantown. That's near ancient history. Not to make anyone feel old, that was a long-ass time ago. And quite frankly, West Virginia has not been good enough in the last 10 years to warrant never winning in Morgantown. They've been good. They haven't
those
been.
Javon Carter years, they were tough.
But that ended in like 2018. What have we been doing from 2019 till now?
But also that you got to take into account, we sucked for a handful of years.
We did. But even then, you might get a bounce going your way on the road.
I'm getting there. Let me cook. Let me cook, please.
Okay.
So during the years we sucked, right? They had guys like Jordan McCabe, Deuce McBride. That's a backcourt that is very tough to beat at the end of the day. They also had he was a JUCO guy. Can't remember his name. Sean McVale. I don't know if that's the correct name, but do you remember him?
They had Oscar Shebre for a year.
Yes. And like they had a stretch forward too that went to Kentucky after Tshiebwe. But they that was a team with guys. Like they would go find their killer guard, their brick house of a big man, and then they'd find these like 6'10" light-skinned dudes that were just long and athletic. Like it was like they were almost built like Texas for a few years. So it's just a weird team to beat. And then that gym in Morgantown gives me bad vibes. It's very dark in there. I don't like it. It just feels like you're gonna lose today. Like no matter who's out there, I feel like it affects our players for whatever reason. Hilton's a very bright gym at the end of the day. So I think it's just a real big scenery change too. And then not to throw in the fact that all the festivities they were tossing around, Jerry West's dead spirit is rooming the grounds. I don't know if they were committing dark magic before the game or something, but things just were not really for us to shoot. What was it, 5% the whole game?
Yeah. From 3.
Dog. It gets to a point where you have to say, this is God. This isn't us. This is God doing this to just humble us for a second. Because I know too darn well that if we got on too crazy of a win streak, it was going to be hard to reel us back in. At least me. Okay. But I think it was a good old plate of humble pie, but it felt like a shit sandwich when we were watching the game.
So the score was 25-24 at halftime, which is very low scoring for this Iowa State team.
But it's also like, this is not going to go well. Just want to put that out there. When you see a halftime score like that on the road, this is not going to end well. So
here's the thing, though. TJ Altenberger has made a living on a 25-24 halftime score. And with Momcilovic being out, I was telling myself, hey, I would much rather be in a dogfight than a shootout.
Here's the thing, though. We've been in situations like that in the tournament where there is nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So take this game into consideration. All right. Milan's out. And everyone's starting to feel it now. Like Curtis was on one, and that gave us the advantage against Kansas to really pull away. But Curtis wasn't shooting the best. None of us were shooting the best. Right. Your best shooter's gone, right? So even TJ realizes in real time, I have to change my approach. Yeah, I would be down for a rock fight, but is a random Saturday conference game in Morgantown worth a rock fight? Like, we're already seeing that the style of play, I don't know how Milan got hurt, but the fact he got hurt in practice, y'all had to be doing some wicked ass rebounding drill or something. I don't know what the hell was happening, but people needed to go settle down for a second. They needed to call a timeout or something. I don't know. It should never have escalated to that point. But I say all that to essentially say that I just think even TJ's approach has to change in an era where you're not really fighting and clawing for wins anymore. And then not to mention Mr. Javon, is it Javon Small? He turned into Damian Lillard, so that doesn't help.
So like, Javon Small should be in the conversation for Naismith Player of the Year. He should, without a doubt, be first team All Big 12. Like that, he is the only reason West Virginia is having a season without Tucker.
Yeah,
he's put that team on his back.
And let's not put that in the back view mirror. I mean, Darren DeVries, he's 515 guy, goes to Morgantown, gets a chance to play the 515 Big 12 team. You're trying to tell me he's not pumped up going into that game and trying to get everything he possibly can out of that group. Also, let's not forget Joseph Youssefu, former Drake Bulldog and former Kansas Jayhawk. And was he a Texas Tech Raider as well?
It was Kansas, Washington.
No, Wazoo. Sorry.
Yep.
So we beat him last year in the tournament.
I don't know. he? Might
He was
have
on
been
the roster. I don't know if he was playing, but he was on the roster. So
Yeah.
you got a lot of people with something to prove. There's a lot of things you got to unfold.
Yeah.
Playing in Morgantown.
There's layers.
Yes, it's an onion, and you got to keep peeling. There's more. There's more and more. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors, I think, that played into just an uneasy Saturday afternoon in Morgantown, and just didn't help that Mr. Small said, "Hold my beer, Curtis Jones. I saw what you did, but let me double it."
Yeah, Javon Small had 27 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. I mean, he was everywhere.
That's a Shea Gillis-Alexander stat line.
Yeah.
That's like an average Shea Gillis-Alexander day.
And played 36 of the 40 minutes, shot above 50% from the field. And like credit to Darren DeVries, like you said, I think he's a great coach. Javon Small was really struggling in probably the first 8 minutes of that game. Amani Hansberry was basically keeping them in it with 3-point shots. And it was like out of a media timeout, set play. Javon Small got a switch. I don't remember if it was a 3 or if it was something that got him right to the rim, but he scored. And it was like, okay, well, here he goes. And then the second half is really where he really poured it on. But man, 7 for 7 from the free throw line, Javon Small, like shit. And that's the one thing I was like, if we can.
I'm sorry. That's how I felt. Like,
yeah.
Because I also want to go into, because our group chat was buzzing off.
Yeah.
Like, people were pissed. And I was like, guys, like I didn't say anything, but in my head, I'm like, dog, we're down 4. Like, the game's not over. We're not trash anymore, you know? And then I saw that boy. First of all, at this time, I want to point out, he was only 1 for 6 from 3 at this point in the game. Comes off a screen, and I see Joshua Jefferson switch out to him. And I heard the Jaws theme music in my head. And then Joshua Jefferson had the audacity to step back. And bro said, bet. Game. Like that was onions. And I was like, well, now it's over. We had a chance, but now you really screwed the pooch on that one, Joshua. But I'm giving you a pass because you made up for it tonight. But that kid, man, his defensive effort at times really bothers me. And I think that'll be an Achilles heel. And I think that's going to be something that someone can point out to what's a flaw come tournament time. And that's got to be cleaned up, because that's strictly an effort thing. Like, I don't care how big you are. Like, please just get down in a 3-point stance and just crab into him. Just pressure him. Dig. Do something. Yeah. But sagging off in Otzelberger's, we don't do that. When have we ever sagged off? We don't even sag our pants in Otzelberger's program. Someone has to address that. It's been the elephant in the room. Not a lot of people have brought it up, but I really want someone to just sit with him and be like, what you're doing on offense is tremendous. Let's apply the same energy to the defensive end, because it needs to be there all the time.
And here's the thing, like on ball, he's not, he shouldn't be guarding. I mean, that was from a switch that he was on Javon Small at the top of the key.
But that's
he's on ball
defending. Like, off ball defending IQ for him is not the strongest. So it's like having the urgency or no, because it's one of two things. You either know you have to get there but aren't trying hard enough, or you're literally seeing a screen and getting lost, and you're getting lost in the commotion that is the screen. It's like, which one is it? Do you not know, or do you not care? Because both are bad. Both are bad. Like, so let's try to fix it.
What kills me with Joshua Jefferson is he's just not the fastest, most athletic guy to begin with, but on rotations, he seems like he's a step slow, especially when he needs to be crashing towards the basket. That is where it really.
But he's still out there in a 3-point stance. It comes down to effort, is my point. Yeah. So I don't care how many points you score. Like, if you're going to be a chair on defense, stop, please.
Yeah. What I was getting at when I was talking about Javon Small is, like, going into the game, you look at our roster and you're like, damn, Keyshawn, really good defensive guard. Damn, Taman Lipsey, really good defensive guard. Nate Heise, damn, really good defensive guard. And, like, on the top of the scouting report has to be, hey, don't let Javon Small get 27 points and you're probably going to win. Yeah. And, like, for them to just basically beat us in what I'm assuming was the whole game plan built against, it was disheartening. I think that's where you saw a lot of panic. It's like, if we were to lose from some, like, no name coming off the bench, had a career night, their best player just played incredible against us, That's tough, especially when you go 1 for 17 from 3-point land without Momcilovic. I think that's where you saw the panic of like, oh shit, like, can we not shoot now? Like, if we don't have Momcilovic. Another thing I do want to point out, and this was brought up by Jake Bren, is these guys probably, after the Momcilovic news, they played Kansas the next day. I'm guessing Friday was probably a travel day.
Yeah.
So Thursday, they probably had one practice since Momcilovic was out. So like the amount of time they've had to be like, hey, here's what we want to do without Momcilovic, probably had one practice to figure that out. Boom, you're on the road to Morgantown. So I think even tonight, like I said, West Virginia and UCF, two very different teams in my opinion. But like I think the longer we go without Momcilovic, the more at least comfortable. I still think there's going to be times where the spacing's awkward. At least we'll know what to expect. We walked into West Virginia and it looked like we forgot how to play basketball for 40 minutes, and it was. And there, a lot of people were mad about the officiating. I listened to it all on radio. I haven't watched the game. I'm sure it sounded physical as hell, but that is the brand of basketball we have excelled in. I mean, we're known for toughness. We're known for defense. And they just like out-cycloned the Cyclones. And that was a disappointing way to lose.
Yeah. And it does look bad, but if you're going to lose to anybody that isn't necessarily a criminal, like a primary name,
yeah.
In the Big 12, at least I don't even want to say that anymore because now they're ranked. Like between that win, the Kansas win, and they beat another good team.
Gonzaga, Arizona.
Gonzaga. Yeah. So it's like, well, I mean, everyone took turns on Arizona, so I don't want to give them their flowers just yet.
They've also lost to Arizona. So they beat them in non-conference and then lost to them in conference play because that makes no effing sense. And then they lost to Arizona State tonight because college basketball.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be like, I don't know. I just feel like the transition in a weird way, it happened for a reason, but it like worked out in our favor still because alongside of us dropping a spot, which who cares really? I'm telling you guys right now from personal experience, you do not want to be that number 1 overall seed.
Yeah,
you don't. It's some people pull a UConn and they're just dominant, cool, whatever. But most years, go look it up. The number 1 overall
very
seed
rarely
guaranteed to win the tournament. So let's. It would be so cool to be number 1 for maybe a week, but after I'd be like, all right, guys, let's throw one, please. We need to get back to number 2 or 3. But I say all that to say this, like that was a good loss on paper because you go back to West Virginia's outside of tonight, their high mark wins were really good high mark wins. So, and then also for them to beat Kansas, that by the grace of God, we killed Kansas, right? Kansas kills UCF. And then we kill UCF. So we really didn't lose it. Like, there's not much to question outside of, it was a Kansas hangover. And then also, you're really starting to feel the void of not having Momcilovic. And then it doesn't help when people aren't shooting well as a team from 3. So, again, West Virginia was an onion. And like eating most onions raw, it sucked.
Yeah.
So
shit, as I said. Let's move on to the Iowa State UCF game. Let's end on a high note here. You were calling this last 3-game stretch a shit sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas was awesome. West Virginia was shit. UCF tonight, back to being awesome. I really do think Hilton Coliseum, dog, you could have some like historically good college basketball teams walk out of a time machine, lose to 15, and get sent back in a time machine at Hilton Coliseum. Like we look, I got a wooden table in front of me, unbeatable at Hilton Coliseum. I don't know what it is about that place. We are blowing teams out of the water at home. I told you early this morning, I want to see a Final Four team tonight. You get embarrassed on the road at Morgantown, you better believe you got to put on a show against whoever's coming into town. Iowa State put up 108 points, triple digits, won by 25.
We didn't play no Morgan State. We didn't play no. Like, this wasn't North Dakota, okay? This was Last Chance U, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was the Central Florida Correctional Facility University team. So they got some convicts on the roster.
They got some characters for sure.
We had those boys locked up.
Yeah.
5 to 10, no pun intended.
UCF turns it over 19 times. I have no idea how many points off of turnovers we scored. I bet it was close to 20, maybe more. Joshua Jefferson, feel like we have to start there. We were kind of dogging on his defense, but like you said, his offense, one of the best forwards in the Big 12. I'd put him right there with like the JT Toppins of the world in the Big 12.
Yeah. No, yeah. I feel like this is why I said this earlier about the absence of Milan. It feels like sometimes with Milan on the floor, because they're pretty similar in size at the end of the day, Jefferson and Milan. It almost feels like with Milan on the floor, because despite him being out on the perimeter ready to shoot, Otz's offense is still catered to pass and cut. Like, you don't just stand around, obviously.
Yeah.
So I feel like with him, his big lanky body moving around in the paint and whatnot, and weaving back out to the wings and corners and whatnot, I feel like sometimes Joshua is creating kind of in smaller space, because college basketball is like the court is already progressively smaller than an NBA court. So they're already, like, everyone says, what's the biggest difference from NBA to college? And they say the amount of room you have to create for yourself. Like, it's actually a huge difference maker at the Europe level, and also in college, it's just a lot more condensed. So people are able to sit in the paint, all that good stuff. I just feel like without Milan on the floor, and it's a Heise or a Watson, someone who is a bit less of more of a smaller frame, I feel like Jefferson just has more room to create off the dribble and then kind of attack you, like I said, from all three levels. Obviously, he can get you around the rim, but it just seemed like he was able to maneuver a lot more in those spin moves, where he'll get a spin move, but sometimes he'll miss the initial layup and have to tip it back in. And again, you're doing that because you're a big body, but it just seems he seems a bit more smoother now without Milan on offense. At least tonight he did. And it also, I just feel like UCF didn't have the girth and tonnage that Iowa State had tonight, and it really showed in the box score. Because I mean, I'm honestly considering calling Joshua Jefferson the Dryer, the way he puts boys in the spin cycle. I mean, he might need a new nickname. The president nickname, it was cute, but I might need to start a Dryer campaign, because he's been putting boys in the spin cycle since he's been here, and it was on display today. And then also too, 3 of 4 from Trey.
Yeah.
He said, "Who can't shoot? Bet." Oh my God, the guy's looking like George Niang out there. It's unreal, dude. It's unreal.
Yeah, and he knew more than anyone in the arena that he had 27 points when he shot that last 3. He knew that got him to 30. There is no doubt in my mind that dude knew, hey, if I hit one more 3, that gets me to 30. Let that bitch fly.
Also,
30.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say 30 piece.
Yeah. Do you want fries with that? No, but the sequence I loved was in transition, Joshua spin move, lay. Then West Virginia, not West Virginia, excuse me, UCF.
Taman Lipsy.
This is the problem. We do 3-game recaps.
I know. I hear you.
We're going to get people mixed up. Anywho, UCF brings the ball up court. They say, "Deshaun, come here." Deshaun said, "Thank you." Tosses it to Lipsy. Corner 3, like he's Peter Griffin. Oh my God. Unreal. That was a crazy sequence. And that was like this 3-game period has really been a shit sandwich, because like you go from being ballistic from 3 against Kansas, Taman's hitting, Curtis is hitting. I believe even Keyshawn hit a few, or at least one. I do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 1 for 4.
Yeah. And then you go to West Virginia, you don't shoot that well. And then today, you're just able to get back in kind of a rhythm, to the point where even Heise hits the 3. Like, this is how championship teams respond, okay? And we're not going to let a little pinky finger injury tear us down long term. We can't. We've come too far. We've come too far just to lay our luggage down and be complacent. We got a long road to go if we want to get to San Antonio. And I think they really showed it today in being one of their more dominant wins. I mean, even Noyes got one up. Yeah. In 1 minute of play, he said, "That's all I need." Hey, like, come on, bro. It was great to see them get back to their old self. 40% from 3. What a bounce back performance. But yeah, no, overall, just a really solid win. Would like to see a bit more, I guess, scoring aggression while Milan is out. I think it gives Taman an opportunity to be able to get to the rim now a bit more. Just because we're not going to those reads where Milan's trying to get the short jumper, the post fade, all that good stuff. I feel like there's more room for Taman to score. So he's got to look for that going forward.
And just like at the top of the show when I was talking about Keyshawn, again, like that West Virginia game had me a little worried. Just the way we looked, it didn't look comfortable. I think it's just all about aggression. Keyshawn, 10 for 15 tonight. Let me see what he was. God damn it. Hold on. 10 for 15. And like it was the old Keyshawn. He's had a couple games in a row now where it just looked like he wasn't being as aggressive as he could be. I think some of that, especially against Kansas, it was like, well, shit, Curtis Jones, just let that boy shoot. I don't need to do anything. Yeah. But like we needed him against West Virginia. He was 6 for 12, but he had 3 turnovers, just like 13 points, didn't look like himself down the stretch. And then 21 points tonight, 8 assists, only 1 turnover. Curtis Jones had 19. Like, we just looked like the Iowa State Cyclones that I know. Demarion Watson had some huge minutes off the bench, 11 points. Like you said, that one made 3-point shot. He had 5 boards. Like, that dude, I just love, like, any other guy in his situation would have transferred. Like,
they would have been in the portal by Christmas.
Yeah, like, that dude would have been gone. Like, I really think he either loves his teammates, loves Iowa State, or just like loves hooping with his friends. Because like, I mean, when he gets his moment, he can do it. But like when Milan's healthy, like you said, there's just not enough minutes to go around. And like, I think he would be a starter on some teams, D1 teams.
Yeah,
because like, he just hustles his ass off.
You're not, and again, you're not wrong. It's just a matter of like, I feel like opportunity. Like I think. In those days where Milan is not having the best offensive night, that's the time to toss him out there.
Yeah.
But
you can trust him. Like, he doesn't look a fool. Like, I mean, when we were talking last year, like Omaha, like, let's get him some more minutes. Omaha would just look a little out of sorts.
Yeah.
But like, that's not really, and like, we're not asking Demarion Watson for an Oklahoma game. We're not asking him for like, hey, we're going to need our offense to run through you for this random night in February where you had 15 points. It's just like, clean up, do like the Brant Chatfield stuff, just like the lunch pill mentality kind of shit.
And I mean, in fact, not playing this long, if there's one positive, I always wanted him to play longer, guys. I wanted us to potentially go 10 deep and give Noyes even some sporadic minutes, just so if we need a shot, please knock it down, Freshie. Please be a diaper dandy right now. We need one, you know. But even with Watson, like I wanted him to play more, but even with like these sporadic minutes, that's kind of his advantage. People don't have tape on this kid. You're just throwing him out there. And like, wait a minute, why is he glassing me like it's game 7 in the finals? What's going on? And then it's like, wait a minute, he can shoot threes? Yeah. Wait a minute, this guy's attacking me from all different types of angles. Pause. Wow, that was crazy. But I say all that to say not playing is essentially giving him a great advantage of not many people are expecting you to make that glue guy impact that he did tonight and that he can do going forward, especially during Milan's absence. So
also like fresh legs for a guy that plays like that, someone who hasn't been playing, 20, 30 minutes a night. Like, we just need energy. And that guy has a bunch of it because like you said, he hasn't been playing like starter or like, especially, like what Momcilovic was getting. He's not playing that much.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. It's like I really want college basketball to go away from the whole 8-man lineup bullshit. Because like I get it. In historically, the best teams have had just 8 solid guys that are guaranteed to play every day. But that's just not how the game rolls now. If West Virginia ain't a dead giveaway, to why you need to keep all guys ready. And I'm a big believer on 10-guy lineups and just having a backup for everybody. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what chess piece you'll need for a specific game in a specific environment in a specific play style. Like it comes down to you need options. Why not have as many people? I've learned it. In being a recruiter in my small time, you're building a pipeline. Things can escalate and essentially, hit the fan quicker than you would ever assume. So if that opportunity ever comes, you want to have people in your pipeline to just plug and pull, plug and pull, plug and pull like that. You're playing checkers, chess, whatever board game you want to think of it. We can't overcomplicate it of, oh, well, I'm limiting myself to just playing 8 guys. Why? Why? What are we doing? Like, we're not hitting this invisible quota just playing 8 guys. I would hope, even when Milan returns, that we can crack into that 9-10 man rotation, because the best teams have deep teams. Auburn and Duke have very deep teams this year. That's why they're good. Like, it's been somebody else every game. So even without Broom playing for Auburn, they're dominating.
They look good.
It doesn't matter. So it just goes to prove that depth now, especially when you can pay people for said depth, is everything. So going forward, I'm not saying go try to find people in the portal right now, but that has to be a focal point going forward, is how deep can we stretch this lineup? Because it's definitely there. It's just a matter of our coaching staff being open to the idea of it.
Yeah, we're kind of on opposite sides of that. When we were like winning the games, we were winning with only 8 dudes. Probably only need 8 dudes. Like, I do understand.
I mean, yeah, but let's
like
look back at the scores. Like, what are you referring to? The 22 tournament, like Brockington?
No, I'm saying like this year. Like, basically everything from the game after Auburn until West Virginia. Well, besides Kansas, because Momcilovic was out, but we were only playing 8 guys and we didn't lose a single game.
I mean, yeah. I would also argue that we didn't have the strongest start competition-wise to...
I mean, but we beat Marquette in that stretch. We won at Texas Tech in that stretch.
I'm referring just to Iowa.
Yeah.
Because it's like out of conference is going to vary between opponents. You're going from playing Auburn to playing Morgan State. Like, that's a really big spectrum of who's going to get in the game, because those are 2 different types of play styles.
Right.
But even you mean to tell me he couldn't play in a game like Auburn? That's his bread and butter.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, let's not be so closed off to the idea of depth. I feel like we make these invisible rules in our minds, and now we can't run away from those principles. No, things are like when it comes to this stuff, when it's very plug and pull, it's bending the ruler when need be. You know, it's called making adjustments, essentially. Who's going to play the best for this team? I think if Watson's not hurt during Maui, I think that would have been a great time to showcase what he can do off the bench. But I'm glad we saw it at some point this year, because now we know we got it. You know, we can't say, oh, we didn't know, because he put it on display tonight.
Yep. 11 points, 1 block, 5 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds for Watson. The other thing I just want a luxury to have about this UCF game and this team in general, your 2 bigs, Deshaun Jackson and Joshua Jefferson, shoot 14 from 18 from the free throw line. Dog. The last couple of years, our bigs at the free throw line, I could turn the TV off and know what happened. Like, it was just like, you knew when Bob Jones was going to the free throw line, I probably wasn't going to like the outcome. Hassan Ward, not really knocking him down from the charity stripe.
Although
These
Hassan,
2 guys,
he missed it, he was going to dunk it on offense. So that was cool about Hassan.
He might get 2 points just from the putback dunk. But like, these guys being able to take contact, get a guy with a pump fake, get him up in the air, no, he's not making the shot. He's just throwing that shit up there. But then to knock down 2 at the free throw line and being confident in yourself to do that just changes the entire flow of a game. Because Iowa State over the past couple of years has left so many points on the board just because bigs aren't able to capitalize on free throws. Yeah, when you shoot, I don't know what that is, close to 75% from the free throw line between your 2 bigs on 18 free throw attempts, that's a good day at the office.
Yeah. And going forward, there's always going to be guys in the portal like a Jefferson, like a Jackson. So it's just, now you know what you like. We got to fill that build all the time, because it's like Matt Painter. There are different. Every big man in a Purdue jersey is different. They're unique in their own special way. But what's the common theme you always see? Big white kid, white shooters, a few black kids. Let's go try to win a natty. So, I mean, it does it work? Not all the time. No, it didn't work last year, but it's just, I feel like once we know what we like as a program, we got to stick to it, because now we know kind of the DNA that we need going forward. But you definitely want to copy this as much as you can. So going forward.
If all of these guys have younger brothers, TJ,
or they have kids, please. Come on.
20, 25 years from now, Taman Lipsey Jr., come on home.
Keyshawn, I would pray that Keyshawn would name his son Heeshawn.
You might as well.
For the hell of it.
You might as well.
And then Kurt names his son Jiggy. That's his biological name. Oh, poetry. Could you imagine? Hits a deep three from the Pioneer. The broadcast call has so much potential.
Yeah.
Like, get the Charlotte Hornets guy on an Iowa State game, and I'll probably cry. I'll probably cry. It'll be amazing. But
108 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 players in double figures. Taman Lipsy had 9. Nate Heise had 9. Like, just up and down. It looks like an NBA box score. And I haven't checked KenPom yet. Just analytically, real quick, the West Virginia, that should have been like the telltale sign. Our analytics barely moved at all after losing to West Virginia. I'm assuming they'll go right back to where they were after that win against UCF. Quickly, before we get out of here, we just saw a struggle on the road against West Virginia. Big road trip coming up at Arizona State on Saturday, and then at Arizona. Is it on Monday or Tuesday?
It's Monday. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Hold up. Yeah, Saturday, Monday.
Okay, so that's 2 games in 3 days on the road in Arizona. What are you happy with the 1-1 record? Are you looking for 2-0 against these teams? What are you happy with?
Yes, dude. I have the scouting report on both these teams.
You want 2-0?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, on paper, outside of the Auburn game, I heard you a lot. There's a lot of rumbling saying that this Iowa State team is better than Duke. So if Duke can go beat Arizona State in a preseason game, mind you, it's an exhibition, it doesn't count. But I think they also put triple digits up on them and then held them to like 60 points. I don't remember the exact score, but it was like pathetic. Like Bobby Hurley said, if we continue to play like this, we will be an abomination like to the rest of the league. Also, while I brought up the Hurley news, I have something to say about Dan, but we'll get to that after this.
Okay.
And then also too, you go into Arizona's place and beat them on the road. Again, a young Duke team coming off of 2 very tough losses against Kentucky and Kansas. You got every reason in the world to fold, and they choose not to. So I think there's definitely I'm sorry. I think they played Arizona in between those 2 games. Like I think it was Kentucky, Arizona, then Kansas, Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not mistaken. But anywho, walked into their place, beat them on the road. I think this is very obtainable. So I'm going off of the logic of, well, if people really think I'm willing to swallow that pill. If Iowa State's better than Duke this year, so be it. Like I don't care. That's what I would. If there's someone's going to be better than them, I would hope it's that. But just coming off the games that I saw, I was not impressed by either team. Arizona State, to me, is a one-man pony in their freshman big man. I forgot his name. It's number 21.
Arizona
State.
Oh, yeah, with dreads.
Yeah. I don't want to call him Jalen because I feel like everyone's name is Jalen nowadays.
Bashir Jihad?
Yeah. He was
No. You're thinking of Jaden Quinton.
So it was Jaden.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was right. And then Arizona just really didn't surprise me at all. I think their out of conference schedule speaks volumes. Even if they did get a little hot in conference play, let's not forget they did lose 70-54 to Texas Tech at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So again, 2 teams that just do not strike fear in my heart at this point. Caleb Love is giving me a lot of trauma, but I've also seen him get his ass whooped a few times. So you give and you take. It's a give and take relationship.
I think if you get through this Arizona road trip, if you go 2-0, you have to go to Kansas on February 3rd. But really between that and then at Houston, the months of February should be kind to Iowa State, even without Momcilovic. The schedule kind of opens up. We really
right?
Who's that?
Even BYU sticking it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, they're not what they were last year.
Yeah.
So, you can go get some of these games, especially if you survive this Arizona road trip, man. You are right back.
You can.
I mean, it's going to be us in
the regular season title, and the championship is essentially Saturday, February 22nd, which is going to be a blockbuster day in hoops already. So why not make that the damn? Let's win the damn thing. Like
Nigel, we got to end on this. Dane Hurley said some crazy stuff, and then we'll get out of here. I want to get your take on it. We both hate this guy at this point. If you haven't seen it, go ahead.
That guy needs to be in a room with soft walls for the rest of eternity. He has lost it. He got up in a ref's face today. I want to quote it. I want to quote it verbatim.
I saw Jeff Goodman tweeted it out.
That's the quote. That's that is the source that I saved it from. But he said, and I quote, "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the fucking sport." Said that word for word to a ref's face, and the ref was like, "I know." He didn't stand on business. Did he
also,
get a T?
I don't think so. UConn barely survives at home to a dog water Butler team. Get the
Patrick
hell
McCaffrey.
out of here, Dan Hurley.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Had you on your last breath. Get out of here.
Unreal. I don't get it. I don't get it. I told you, UConn is the student with the overbearing parent that has been pushed to a limit that they cannot recover from. They're going to turn to drugs. They're going to turn to disobeying the rules. And again, I'm speaking in metaphors. I'm not saying Alex Caravan's going to go get hooked on drugs, but I'm just saying they are spiraling, and it's really showing because to go from the dominant team that they were last year to where it was like, not really much you can do about them. They're kind of going to be there regardless. It's just a matter of who's going to join them at the table. Oh, how the tables have turned this year. Because, I mean, again, it's like the target we have on our back now, they've had the entire year. Like, no matter how long the season gets, how more understood that we all come to an agreement as a community, okay, this team's probably not going to win the Natty. Like, they're still the defending national champs, and that is the one con of winning a national championship is that next year every game to the other team matters a bit more because no matter what kind of like phase you're in as a program, like transitional period, but you send a bunch of kids to the NBA, that doesn't matter. You're still you're the reigning national champion. People want to beat you. They're going to find every reason in the book to try to beat you. So it as much as it is a physical game, man, this game is like chess. It's psychological. And people have advantages at certain points of the year, and UConn, I think, has ran out of advantages. I don't know what are they, 19 now? They're like close to the 20s, I believe.
I'd have to look it up.
I believe they're 19, but it just like a year ago, if I told you that, people would be like, no way. Like, they'll continue this. They're sure of it. And then when they announced they were returning Caravan, people were like, no way. There's no way this is happening. But look, man, college basketball is unpredictable. It's the thing you love and hate about it because you never see anything that happens coming. But I hope we. Man, I don't know, man. This is a great time to be a Cyclone. I'll say that.
It is.
We'll end on that note. Time to be a Husky. Great time to be a Cyclone.
Gotta figure some things out on the road. If there's any game played in Hilton Coliseum, I'm going to be wildly confident and talk a whole lot of trash because I feel real good about playing in Hilton Coliseum right now.
I am a little scared of a back-to-back Houston, OK State. Now, I know OK State ain't nothing to lose your mind over, but we historically do not play the best at OK State. Just want to put that out there. Don't love that's a back-to-back 3-day period.
That is over a month away. Let's get to Arizona.
You're absolutely right. But I'm very confident about Arizona. So that's not necessarily why I'm like looking too deep into them. But I will give us a huge advantage right now of it being bone-chilling cold right now in both Illinois and Iowa. Stay warm also out there, fellas. If you're listening to this, please, I hope you're listening to this, bundled up and something warm. Just want to put that out there. But I think leaving this cold weather may get rid of some of that arthritis, banged up bodies. Okay. People wake up in that Arizona heat, man. It's gonna be different. Like people are gonna be feeling loose. Keyshawn might punch on someone. I've been very good on this platform about foreshadowing things. I want to foreshadow a Keyshawn poster. Would love to see it. He's been very adamant on the 2 foot up, fundamentally sound finishing at the rim.
Go get one,
dog. I need to see Ja Morant come out of you. Pause.
Go get one.
But I've been saying some crazy things this episode, but you know what I mean. I need you to yell at somebody.
I got you.
But yeah, I think the weather change for a second will be nice for our group as well.
Let them cook. It's a dry heat down there in Arizona. I hope Iowa State stays hot. Big 2-game stretch here. Then you got a couple of Kansas teams to worry about, and then the schedule kind of opens up. So weather the storm and get through it. Come out on the other end. Maybe 3-1, 4-0 would be crazy. And then take care of business. But Nigel, do you got anything you want to say before you get out of here?
I just want to close on this, man. Our fate's in our hands. What are we going to do with it?
Yep.
Your destiny is right here. What are you going to do with it? This is our 8-mile moment. This final stretch that we're getting out of January pretty smoothly. I like the fact that we can get through the worst month, arguably, in college basketball. Just from a time period standpoint, there's not much to be excited about from a month kind of perspective. I'm satisfied with how we got out of most of January. We got to just finish strong in Arizona, but it's on the table. Now it's time to eat. Let's not complain.
Also, I'm going to keep saying this until this game happens. I haven't seen Iowa State play a good 40 minutes yet. That game hasn't happened yet. It's out there.
I'm hoping it doesn't happen in the regular season.
It might not.
I don't think this group's perfect game together. I don't think it's worth any game in the regular season. I would so much rather save that for the tournament because you're gonna need it.
100%.
So, yeah, I don't want to. I'm glad we still haven't played that yet, but I'm also not. I'm hoping to God we don't do it in the regular season. That's all.
It's more to say we've been scary good without playing our best game yet.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
People should be terrified. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a good thing. All right, Nigel. Let him cook. We ran long. I apologize. Had a lot to unpack here. So we appreciate you listening. Let him cook. Go Cyclones.
Let's go.